Welcome to the P.A.S. Report podcast. If you're tired of censorship, outraged by government abuses, and thirsty for real insights, then you're in the right place. Get ready, because here, the fight for freedom never ends. Here's your host, Professor Nick Giordano.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the America Founding Series on the P.A.S. Report podcast. Here's your host, Nick Giordano. I'm glad you could join me today. Make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. Also, visit the P.A.S. Report website, pasreport.com, and share this episode with others so they can hear the stories of the great patriots, the forgotten patriots, who helped shape our nation. Because today, I want to set a scene for you. Picture musket smoke hanging thick in the air. A young soldier grips their thigh, bleeding from a gunshot wound. But this isn't any ordinary soldier. She's alone, removes the musket ball from her leg with a knife, terrified, not of death, but of discovery. Her name is Deborah Sampson, and for nearly 2 long years, she risked execution to fight in the Continental Army. She's fighting as Robert Shuttliff. And she's fighting a war that women were never supposed to fight in the first place. In the history of the American Revolution, we talk about men defying their king. But there were those who defied everyone, society, convention, nature itself, and they wanted to stake their claim to a free America. What drives someone to risk everything? We're talking reputation, safety, and even life itself for freedom. And today, that's what we're going to explore. We go beyond the famous names to tell the story of Deborah Sampson, the female soldier who embodies the revolutionary spirit, the courage to define her own destiny. From an indentured servant to a secret patriot, Deborah Sampson was born in 1760 in Plimpton, Massachusetts, and her life began not with privilege, but with poverty and instability. Her family traced their lineage back all the way to the Pilgrims, but wealth and status were long gone. Her father abandoned them. He was a struggling whaler, disowned the family, left, and her mother was forced to send her 7 children to live in different households. So at the age of 10, Deborah was sent to work as an indentured servant for a deacon's family in the neighborhood. And for 8 years, she worked the farm. She lived a life of hard labor, strict control. But during the winters, she did something most women her age would never do. She gained an education and she taught herself. She studied the books of the sons of the house after everyone else had gone to bed. And when her indentured servitude ended, when it was finally over at the age of 18, she was a self-made woman. She worked as a weaver and a school teacher. She was capable, intelligent, and fiercely self-reliant. Self-reliance, a big part of the American identity that makes us who we are, that makes the United States an exceptional nation. And she exemplified it, even though as a woman in the 1780s, she had no political voice, no land rights, no control over her destiny. She couldn't even vote. And she would listen to men around her talk endlessly about liberty, the rights of man, self-government. The debates were happening all over the colonies, and that's the pivot point. When your nation is fighting for freedom and you don't have any freedom, it makes rebellion become much more personal, does it not? See, for Deborah, she saw the revolution not as a fight for the colonies, but as a fight for her own life. And in 1782, she's going to make a decision that will change her life. If she couldn't participate in the revolution as a woman, she's going to participate as a man. So she took the name Robert Shuttliff. She used money that she earned as a teacher, and she bought a man suit. She traveled to Worcester, Massachusetts, and she enlisted. She was tall for a woman of the day. About 5 feet 8 inches, taller than a lot of guys out there. And with her chest tightly bound, she could pass for a man. The fear during the enlistment process must have been paralyzing. I mean, imagine one moment, you get a close inspection, one little misstep, and it could have exposed her to public humiliation, maybe even worse. Yet she held her composure, and on May 23rd, 1782, Private Robert Shuttliff was officially sworn into the 4th Massachusetts Regiment for the Continental Army. Deborah's life as Robert Shuttliff began with the grueling reality of military training. It wasn't a pleasant experience. She endured long punishing days and marches, musket drills, the constant threat of close quarters, having to live amongst men. She was forced to find creative ways to try and avoid attention. She kept to herself. She rarely spoke in case someone recognized that her voice wasn't all that deep. She avoided the communal necessity of bathing with her fellow soldiers. I mean, how can you bathe in front of men when you're a woman, pretending to be a man? Finally, her unit's going to be sent to the Hudson Valley. This was an area that was known as neutral ground. There were skirmishes going on against British loyalists or Tories, and she proved to be a very capable and disciplined soldier. She was assigned to the Light Infantry Company. This was an elite, agile unit chosen for its capability to scout and raid British camps. And her first major test of courage came in June 1782. During a skirmish in Tarrytown. Her unit was ambushed. She took a sword gash to the head. She took 2 musket balls to the thigh. Now think about that for a second. Getting the head wound treated, not going to be that big of a deal. But the musket balls, that's where the threat lies. She knew that any thorough medical examination is going to reveal her big secret. So after the battle, she did the unthinkable. She begged her fellow soldiers not to take her to the hospital. And she left the care of an army doctor, found an isolated spot, armed only with a penknife and a sewing needle. She dug out one of the balls herself. Now, I know grown men who wouldn't have the courage or stomach to do something like that. It was an act of raw bravery that speaks volumes, but more importantly, it demonstrates her commitment to the Patriot cause. It demonstrates her commitment to the cause of independence. In her later years, she's going to reflect on that moment. She's going to say the wound was painful, but not so much as the fear of discovery. She was more worried about getting caught than the fact that she'd been shot and the musket ball still inside her leg. So she could only remove one of the musket balls. She left the other lodged in her leg for the rest of her life, and that's going to serve as a permanent and painful reminder of the price she paid for her secret service to our great nation. But the secret was only safe for now. Ultimately, she's going to recover. She'll return to duty. She's going to earn a reputation for bravery, and she serves for a year and a half. She's protecting supply lines, patrolling the countryside. She even led a raid that resulted in the capture of 15 loyalists. She was promoted because of her service to waiter. This is an aide for our commanding officer, who was General John Patterson at the time, and it seemed her secret would hold until the end of the war. But even the strongest soldiers can only hide so much for so long. Now, we need to take a quick commercial break, but when we get back, we're going to continue to explore Deborah Sampson's incredible story, including the moment her secret was finally exposed and the surprising role Paul Revere is going to play in her life. So everyone, hang tight. We'll be right back. Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain and stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a hydrated glow instead of more fine lines and wrinkles? Well, discover Native Path Collagen, made with only type 1 and 3 collagen fibers. These are the 2 most important types that make up 90% of the collagen found in your cartilage, bones, skin, hair, nails, and gut. They provide maximum benefits. And Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. Completely flavorless, Native Path Collagen can be added to anything: coffee, smoothies, oatmeal, you name it. It doesn't clump, it absorbs fast thanks to its peptide formula. And the best part, Native Path offers amazing bundle deals at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a brand you could trust. They offer an 800 number for any questions you may have, and then you'll speak to a real person who's there to help. Visit getnativepath.com/PAS and start your transformation today. That's getnativepath.com/PAS. Welcome back to the America's Founding Series, part of the P.A.S. Report podcast. Now, if you're joining the stories of the forgotten patriots who helped build this nation, I encourage and would appreciate you to share this episode with others so that they too can learn about our great history, our real history, one that examines the totality of the founding, the unique individuals that played key roles in the birth of America, but have been largely forgotten by history. Because before the break, I was talking about Private Robert Shurtliff, a decorated but deeply hidden soldier in the Continental Army. Now, in the summer of 1783, Deborah was part of a contingent sent to Philadelphia to help quell potential mutiny among the disgruntled soldiers who were demanding their pay because our country was broke and couldn't afford to pay them. Fortunately, while she's there, an outbreak of yellow fever is going to sweep through the troops, and Private Shurtliff was struck down by high fever and ended up losing consciousness. She was taken to a hospital where the attending physician, Dr. Barnabas Binney, discovered her secret. He's treating her, and he realizes it's not a man he's treating, it's a woman. This was the moment of reckoning, because exposure carried great risks. Could mean public disgrace, jail time, the loss of her pay. Ultimately, it would ruin her. But here is where her personal courage yielded unexpected honor. Dr. Binney respected her service to the country. He respected what she did in defense of the nation as it fights for independence. And he decided to keep her secret in confidence. He wrote a very discreet letter to the commanding officer, General John Patterson, explaining the situation and what was going on. And when Sampson recovered, she was summoned to West Point to meet with General Patterson. She stood before him. In her mind, she's thinking that she's going to get punished. Instead, the general handed her official papers, her discharge, and a note. The note contained a small amount of money and a few words of advice for her. There was no reprimand. There was no punishment. There was no shame. General Patterson honored her service, honored her bravery. He respected her as well. On October 25th, 1783, Deborah Sampson would receive an honorable discharge from the Continental Army, and it makes her one of the few women officially recognized for military service, particularly in the Revolution. She's going to return to Massachusetts, marry a farmer named Benjamin Gannett, and she has 3 children. Life for her will still be a financial struggle for her and her family, as it was for so many veterans of the Continental Army. The government was slow to pay soldiers because the government was broke. It didn't have the money. And Deborah was often overlooked because of her gender. But it's going to begin a second fight, the fight for recognition. In 1804, she's going to petition Congress for back pay. She is going to petition them for a military pension, which she felt she was owed for her extraordinary service to the nation. And not only just the service to the nation, the lasting physical injuries. She still had a musket ball lodged in her. In her quest for justice, in a quest for the back pay and the military pension, she found an extraordinary advocate and ally in a fellow Boston Patriot, someone that she would strike a friendship with, a Patriot that I've mentioned several times on the America's Founding series, and that Patriot was none other than Paul Revere. Revere, who had witnessed her integrity firsthand, wrote to Congress on her behalf, declaring, quote, "Her life and character have been marked with industry and good moral conduct, and she has performed extraordinary services to her country." Supported by one of the Revolution's greatest heroes, Deborah Sampson was eventually granted a pension by Congress, becoming the first woman to receive a full military pension for her service as a soldier. And Deborah Sampson's story isn't just about successful disguise. It's not even really about gender. It's about a profound commitment to the ideals of the American Revolution, ideals that were meant to apply to her even if the laws at the time did not. She didn't fight for women's suffrage. She fought for the fundamental right to self-determination. She saw the chance to earn a life for herself, to experience adventure, to be recognized for her actions, not her birthright. She embodied the revolutionary spirit, someone that had a willingness to sacrifice everything for a principle, for something greater than herself. In 1802, she's going to go on a year-long lecture tour, recounting her experiences, sometimes dressing in an old Continental Army uniform, the first woman in American history to do so, and she wasn't afraid to stand before the world, the crowd, and declare her truth. While not phrased this exact way, she would say, "I'm not afraid to own my name, nor to tell the world that I was a soldier in the American Army." It's her story. That's a powerful reminder that the courage needed to define and defend liberty knows no gender. There are no boundaries. The principles she fought for, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, these are not abstract concepts. These are not concepts that are granted by our government. These are God-given rights, and no government or king has a right to take them away. The next time you consider the patriots of the founding era, remember Private Robert Shuttliff, the soldier who healed herself in the woods, whose secret was kept out of respect, and whose courage earned her not only an honorable discharge, but a place in American history. It's about revealing the truth of what America was always meant to be, a nation where freedom belongs to all who are willing to defend it. Her life is a reminder that self-reliance is the foundation of the American identity. She didn't wait for permission. She didn't want pity or validation. She took control of her own destiny in a time when society didn't offer any. And that instinct, the instinct to depend on oneself, to face hardship without any excuses, without any complaining, was shared by countless other patriots who built this nation from the ground up. A remarkable difference from what we are witnessing today in the entitlement society and the complaining about everything. The founders didn't simply dream of freedom. They built systems that depended on citizens capable of governing themselves. Self-reliance. It's not just a personal trait. It's a civic duty, a civic responsibility, and Deborah embodied that spirit long before it became an American ideal. Her strength, her courage, her refusal to surrender control to some. It reminds us that liberty can only endure when we exercise self-reliance. And without it, as we have witnessed over the last several decades, people will look to government to fill the void. Government dependency increases, and as government expands, liberty contracts. Now, I hope you found the content of this episode informative. Take 30 seconds to write a good review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please give the P.A.S. report a 5-star rating on any podcast platform that allows it. And I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll be back next week with more great episodes of the P.A.S. Report podcast.
Thank you for listening to the P.A.S. Report. Don't forget to rate, share, and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll never miss an episode. For more exclusive content and updates, visit us at PASreport.com and follow Professor Giordano on all social media platforms at PAS Report.